Once upon a time, in the resplendent kingdom of Auralis, where spires of crystal pierced the heavens and the air thrummed with latent magic, there lived a humble chef named Aldric. He reigned supreme in the royal kitchens, crafting gastronomic marvels under the watchful gaze of King Theron. Now, Theron was a pompous man, draped in finery, more concerned with appearances than substance. To him, Aldric was just a cook, his creations merely adequate fare, a phrase that stung Aldric more than any insult. For he infused every dish with rare herbs and a touch of his own latent sorcery. Each meal was a miracle, extending life, mending weary souls and kindling dormant magical gifts. Yet, to the courtiers of Auralis, too dull to taste the miracles on their plates, his food was just adequate fare. Aldric's downfall came abruptly during a grand feast. The king had invited visiting diplomats, men whose titles boomed with power and whose pockets overflowed with gold. And Theron expected a menu to match, veritable fireworks of flavors to dazzle his guests. But Aldric, tired of being overlooked, dared to be different. He prepared a simple rustic stew of root vegetables and wild mushrooms, a humble dish reminiscent of his village childhood. But this was no ordinary stew. It simmered with Aldric's magic, each spoonful weaving potent enchantments. Yet the court was appalled. They had expected ostentatious platters of roasted phoenix or gilded truffles, not a stew fit for a peasant hearth. King Theron, red-faced and eager to appease his influential guests, banished Aldric from the palace. "You are a disgrace to our kitchen," he boomed, "fit only to serve swine, not the royal table." And so Aldric left in silence, his heart heavy but his pride intact, unaware that his absence would soon unravel the very fabric of Auralis. Weeks turned into months, and Aldric, far from the clamor of the court, found solace in a small village at the edge of Auralis. He took up residence in a roadside tavern, eking out a modest living by cooking for weary travelers. One evening, the tavern doors swung open, framing a young peasant girl who stood drenched in the twilight, her tattered cloak barely concealing her frail frame. Her eyes, though, burned with a quiet intensity. She had no coin, but offered a chipped amethyst pendant in exchange for a bowl of soup. Aldric, moved by her earnestness, served her a portion of his enchanted stew, its steam curling like tendrils of fate. As she ate, color returned to her cheeks, and a faint glow pulsed beneath her skin. Lyra gasped, tears streaming, as memories flooded back. Memories of her time as Auralis's youngest court mage, stripped of her powers by a cruel curse years ago. Aldric's meal had unraveled that spell, rekindling her magic. Overwhelmed, Lyra revealed her tale. Though born a peasant, her brilliance had earned her allies among the kingdom's elite, including the Archduchess Ella, a reformist noble who loathed Theron's wasteful rule. When her powers waned during a crucial diplomatic mission, she was accused of treachery and banished. Aldric listened, recognizing his own story in hers. He had been discarded when his talents were deemed inconvenient. Grateful for his aid, Lyra vowed to spread word of Aldric's gift. As the first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, Lyra took to the skies, soaring above Auralis on wings of renewed magic. Whispers of the miracle chef spread like wildfire across the kingdom. Nobles who once snubbed Aldric's invitations now offered him fortunes to cater their parties. Merchants desperate for an edge in trade deals sought his aid. And even rogue sorcerers known for their wild unpredictability made discreet inquiries, each hoping to secure a place at Aldric's table. In a matter of days, the tavern couldn't contain Aldric's fame. Lyra, now restored to her role as court mage, ensured that the Archduchess Ella, a patron of innovation and progress, also dined at Aldric's tavern. Ella, after tasting his food, felt her own waning magic surge anew. She offered Aldric a fortune to serve her household, but he declined. He had tasted the bitterness of servitude and didn't wish to bind himself to another master. Instead, he continued to serve a broader clientele, his reputation growing beyond Auralis's borders. Meanwhile, across the vast sea, in the rival nation of Varkas, a land of iron and ambition, word reached Queen Sereth, a cunning ruler who always sought an edge over her rivals. Vargas and Auralis had long been locked in a cold war, a tense standoff where dominance tipped precariously on the scales of power. Sereth was intrigued by Aldric and his magical cuisine. If he could extend the life force of her warriors and empower her mages, she might just tip those scales decisively. So she dispatched her best emissaries, a pair of twin brothers renowned for their silver tongues. They arrived at Aldric Estevan bearing gifts of exotic spices and an offer for the miracle chef. Wealth beyond his wildest dreams and a grand kitchen in her fortress capital where he could ply his trade without a worry in the world. Tempted by the prospect of appreciation and quietly nursing his grudge against Theron, Aldric accepted. Within weeks, his meals were strengthening Varkas's mages, bolstering their arcane abilities to levels previously thought impossible. Varkas's warriors were becoming nigh invincible, their wounds healing faster than any bomb could manage. And Queen Sereth, once on the brink of succumbing to a mysterious wasting disease, now thrived, her vitality restored by Aldric's masterful cuisine. Little did Auralis know it, but the reason for their soldiers' sudden misfortunes and the source of their inexplicable victories lay in the hands of a disgraced chef. Back in Auralis, King Theron's court was crumbling. Courtiers who had scoffed at Aldric's rustic stew now withered rapidly, their vitality seemingly drained away by unseen forces. Lyra, now a trusted advisor to Alara, pleaded with Aldric to return, revealing that Theron had publicly regretted his harsh decree and would likely reinstate Aldric if he came back. But Aldric, having tasted freedom and the satisfaction of being appreciated, declined. Theron might have realized his folly, but he would not be coerced. Aldric had once been a loyal servant, but he was done being just a cook. In the meantime, as Varkas grew stronger, Sereth became bolder. Aldric's culinary prowess had given her an advantage she couldn't ignore. The cold war with Auralis was now teetering on the brink of hot conflict. Alara, realizing the gravity of the situation, sent Lyra and a contingent of elite mages to seek Aldric. They found him at the height of his fame, preparing a banquet for a visiting delegation of elemental beings, creatures of immense power who thrived on the life force surging from Varkas's fortified city. Aldric listened to Lyra's impassioned plea, then looked out at the splendor of the fortress, a tangible symbol of his influence and success. He wasn't going back to Auralis, not for any amount of gold or reinstatement. Aldric was done playing the king's chef. He had tasted a different kind of power. In the end, it wasn't war or diplomacy that brought Aldric back to Auralis, but something far simpler, a letter from his estranged daughter. She was a bright spark in a dreary royal court, the only reason he hadn't completely severed ties with Theron. Seeing her joy at the prospect of a reunion, he couldn't say no. Aldric returned to Auralis, but not as the king's chef. He set up shop in his own grand culinary academy, open to all, regardless of birthright or station. He taught aspiring chefs that true power lay not in serving kings, but in nourishing souls. And so, the miracle chef, once cast out, became a myth in his own time, a man who had fed empires, forgave, but never forgot, and proved that a single dish could change the world. From the halls of power to the humblest hearth, Aldric's legend echoed. a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dare to dream big. Break the mold and serve up a helping of magic with every meal.